Do you really need a rangefinder that goes out to 4,000 yards? In my opinion, you do. But let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit down below, hit that subscribe button. We have a lot of good content coming out and we want to make sure that you don't miss any of it. So hit that subscribe button, hit the bell next to it so that you don't miss any of our videos. So let's talk about this. These rangefinders nowadays, back in the day, pretty much any rangefinder would work. If they gave you the yardage, you were pretty happy about it. Now there seems to be a lot of technology going into these rangefinders. And if you think about it, even the binoculars coming out have a lot of rangefinder finding capabilities in them. And so is it really necessary to have something that can go out so far and cost so much? I have a couple different rangefinders here that I want to talk about today. It's one I've used for a very long time. This is a Leupold RX1000 TBR. Used it for a very long time. Really enjoyed it. It's been a great rangefinder, but it's an RX1000, so it goes out to 1,000 yards, which I thought, okay, that's plenty. You know, usually I'm archery hunting and I don't really need to go past 1,000 yards. Even when I'm rifle hunting, I'm not going to go past 1,000 yards. 1,000 yards is just too far out there for a rifle or a bow. But if you've used rangefinders in the past, you know that that's not really truly the distance that you can get on this. So Vortex came out with this Razor 4000 rangefinder. This thing is amazing, by the way. It has a bunch of different modes that you can use. It has a very bright display on it. It's a 7-power monocular, basically. The glass on this is super clear, just like all of Vortex's Razor lineup. They have really good glass. But it's a 7-power glass, so you can. I've actually used it a lot just as I'm looking at animals. If I want to look and see what something is, I'll look through this and get a nice look at it, especially archery hunting. It was really, really nice to have that. So fantastic rangefinder. And if you click the link below, or below I will put a link to an article that we put up on the EHNTR.com website about this specific rangefinder. Like I said, it's pretty amazing. Even just the little things it has on it. Belt clip to put on your belt. You can put it on a tripod. The objective comes out for eye relief on it. It's got a focus wheel on it so that you can focus it for your eye. I mean, just a lot of different things that this little rangefinder can do. But is it really worth it? Let's talk about a few of the details on rangefinders and just talk whether this is really truly worth it. And let me tell you why I think it's worth it. So I'm actually going to look at Vortex's Impact 1000 rangefinder. This is their cheapest rangefinder that Vortex makes, an MSRP of $269.99. You'll find it in most retail shops for about $199, so 200 bucks, basically. I mean, it looks very similar to the Razor 4000. Really good optics, got different modes, does a lot of the same things. But coming down here, this is really where the biggest difference is. So range on something on a reflective target, and that's something that you need to remember is on a reflective target, you can range things with a laser a lot easier than you can a tree or a deer or an elk or something like that. So on a reflective target, it's 1,000 yards, and that's where it gets the 1,000 yard name to it, the Impact 1000. On a tree, it goes down to 800 yards. On a deer, 500 yards. And one thing you need to remember is this is best case scenario, honestly. You're going to be pretty lucky to get that at 500 yards consistently on a deer. I would say consistently, you're probably only going to get about 300 yards. It's 6x magnification, so you know it has kind of that. It does that same thing as far as magnifying, kind of like a monocular, basically, so that you can see the animals out there. So again, 1,000 yards. Basically, what you can do for any rangefinder that you're looking to buy is take the name of it. So if it's an Impact 1000, basically cut it in half. And that's really where you're going to be, is right in that half of that yardage. So, you know, most people, that's where we hunt to, is 500 yards. Definitely with archery, you're never going to go past 500 yards. You may look at animals and just determine, okay, how much ground do I have to cover before I can shoot that animal? But very rarely are you going to take a shot. Well, you're never going to take a shot with archery over 500 yards. And, well, I hope you don't. And with a gun, again, very rarely are you going to go past that 500 yard mark. All right, now let's jump over to the Razor HD 4000. The first thing that's going to jump out, obviously, is the price. $729.99 MSRP. In the stores, in retail shops, you're going to actually find this for about $499.99, $500. So an extra $300. Is an extra $300 really worth getting a rangefinder that goes out to a longer distance? Now remember what I said about rangefinders, 4,000 yards, right? Cut that in half, about 2,000 yards is what you're going to get. Let's come down here to the specifications and then we'll talk a little bit more about these. So what I talked about with that the Razor 4000 is it has different modes. So it's got like the ELR mode, the scan mode, and this is actually going to give you a little bit of a different range on some of these animals. So before we get into all those specifics, let's talk about the same ones that we looked at on the Impact 1000. Range on a reflective target, 4,000 yards, fantastic. Range on a tree, 2,500 yards. And range on a deer, 2,200 yards. That's a long ways. I hope that nobody's shooting that far. If you are, boy, give me a call, leave a comment below. I'd love to go shooting with you, and you can teach me how you're able to do that. So being able to reach out that far is beneficial when you're hunting, not just when you're shooting, but when you're hunting. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. There's different modes. So if you're just on the normal mode, looking through the Razor HD 4000, at a deer, you're looking about 1,600 yards. On the scan mode, you're about 2,000 yards. And then this ELR mode is really where the rubber meets the road, I should say. So this is an extended laser range mode is what ELR stands for. You can read more about it up here. But 2,200 yards at a deer, again, that's these numbers that they use for advertising, 2,500 for a tree and 4,000 for a deer. So do you really need to have something that goes out to 4,000 yards? Like I said in the beginning, my answer is yes. But let me tell you why. Because I'm not shooting animals at 2,200 yards. Absolutely not. I use my rangefinder for a lot more than just ranging an animal to pull the trigger, whether that be with a bow or with a gun. I use it to determine really what I need to do to get to that animal. If I range an animal at 1,500 yards, again, I know I'm not pulling that trigger, but I'll find areas on the mountain, on the flat, wherever I'm at, to get closer to that animal, to get to where I know where I can actually shoot. So I'm comfortable at 500 yards, 600 yards, somewhere around there. So I'll range that deer at 1,500 yards, and then I'll find other areas that are closer to that deer where I can cut off 1,000 yards of distance between us, hopefully without spooking them, but be able to cut that 1,000 yards off and be able to get where I can have a shot. That is my number one reason why I would go with a higher powered rangefinder. It is so effective. I used it this year on several of my hunts, and many times I was so grateful to have a longer range rangefinder. It just gave me an idea of what kind of plans I could make for my hunting. If I had a smaller rangefinder, I couldn't have done that. I could have guessed, and absolutely, if you're good at guessing ranges, fantastic, good on you. But being able to actually know how far you need to go is so beneficial. And then if you are one of those people that take a 1,000-yard shot or a 900-yard shot, again, these smaller ones, you can't do it. You don't know what that range is. It's really only going to go to about 500 yards. This is going to get you out to 2,200 yards. You're going to have an endless distance there that you can look at to determine how far you're going to shoot. So I highly recommend getting a higher powered or higher distance rangefinder. It has been so beneficial. And then you also get what you pay for. You know, again, this is $300 more than the Impact 1000. But I do feel it is worth it. The glass is amazing. If you are using it as a monocular, it's fantastic. The glass is better in this than it would be in the Impact 1000. Much better than it is in my other rangefinder. The modes on this are also fantastic. It has the true ballistic range and all those fantastic things that we look for in a good rangefinder. It's also built very well. You know, it's very durable, strong. I actually did drop this a few times this year in some of the rocks, and you'd never even know it. So again, you get what you pay for, and I have loved this rangefinder. So if you're a long distance shooter, no question, use this. Especially a long distance target shooter. I don't know that there'd be anything else I would buy other than this rangefinder, except for maybe some rangefinding binoculars. Those are pretty amazing as well. But for hunters, even if you're an archery hunter, you will benefit from buying a higher range rangefinder like the Vortex Razor 4000. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. I'll put links below as well to the article that we wrote about this specific rangefinder, as well as places that you can go to find out more information or to purchase the rangefinder. Thanks, guys.